Hi, this is Sudhin Bhartia, and welcome to another episode of TFR Insights. And today we have with us Gary Ling, CMO of Aparavi. Gary, first of all, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks. It's good to meet you and good to meet everyone on the call.
Let's talk a bit about the company itself. What do you guys do there?
So, Aparavi, really, we were founded by a gentleman by the name of Adrian Knapp, who's been in the industry and dealing with data management in various forms. And it really wanted to sort of disrupt the market in a positive way to manage data, proactively, bring in intelligence to it, and then, certainly be enable people to put that data to work. So we really sort of looked at the market. We looked at, how people classify data management, and there's all these different taxonomies. And so we looked and said, well, you really need intelligence about the data in terms of to manage it effectively. And then you also really need to be able to simplify operations, reduce human error. And that's where we came up with the concept of automation. So it really is about what we provide as a data intelligence and automation platform that can address a variety of data-intensive workloads.
How would you define data intelligence?
So, data intelligence, I kind of look at the different markets and, I've worked for a lot of different storage vendors and backup vendors over, my decades of career. And, they're very good at identifying data, replicate it, copy it, move it, but really have no understanding of its value. Is that document within their the pride and joy of the company, the IP or the business plan, or is it someone's baseball scores that they're keeping track of and it just happens to have the same file name? So, these practices have been going on for decades. Backup was designed primarily to protect databases and has certainly evolved. And so, we really look at the whole space in terms of, managing the data, the life cycle, understanding what it is, where it resides, who's touched it, how many times has it been copied, and looking at the real locations, because you've really sort of got this data chaos out there, and people are continuing to do the same old thing, copying it from point A to point B, now copying it up to the cloud, and you're just making the problem even worse without really understanding the data's value or in actuality what the data is. Some people refer to this as dark data, and others refer another subsection of dark data is rot data or redundant, obsolete, and trivial.
Awesome. Also, when we look at data today, we live in a multi-cloud world. We're also using a mix of environment. So data is moving from as you also said, one point to other point. Plus, the companies are building their own data lakes as well. So how does Aparavi come into the picture and help them automate as well as extract? Data itself has no value. You have to extract value from the data. So talk about how do you help them while not changing the way they are handling their data.
Yeah, I kind of look at it in a couple of ways. There are this sort of two communities. The communities, I would call it the data community and the IT community. The data community is generally people in the space. They may be the general counsel, the new title of chief data officer, analytics people, compliance professionals, really trying to, as you said, extract value from data and to understand it. Then you've got the IT community. You've been chartered with business continuity. This environment must not go down, and less curious or directed to really understand what's inside the data, more about making sure the application's kept running, the data is protected and backed up. And so we see today is a lot of people focusing on, data risk. And automatically people will look at that differently. Is it security? And people talk about protection. Some people will interpret the word protection as backup, and others will talk about it as, data leakage prevention. Edge protection and, malware protection. So again, it really looks at the different ways. What Aparavi does is we, first and foremost, we've got a very powerful find or search capability. So we can go search based on a classification policy or just basic keywords. So say, for example, you were looking for all data to ensure you are GDPR compliant. You could basically go do a federated search. It would search across all your NAS environments, your SAN environments, all of your enterprise storage, even your endpoints and laptops, and basically give you a view into that data in place without actually having to move it. So a lot of the other solutions try to make you move data before they can analyze it. From there, you can now cull that data down, refine it, and then take actions on it, whether it be I want to make a copy of it, I want to move it, I want to archive it, or in some cases, I want to tell IT, please delete it. And an interesting fact from IDC is that 80% of enterprise data is unstructured content. And with a bunch of our customers right now, we've got ranges from 15% to up as much as 55% of the data in their enterprise is not of value. I'll maybe use that term. Some people say redundant, obsolete, or trivial, or rot, but they've identified, hey, there are 57 copies of a 4 gig video of someone's baseball game, and clearly that is not mission critical. So it's, again, delete it and free up that. That has a major cascading effect in terms of the key pain points that many corporations have today, and we can touch on those a little bit later.
Also, when you mentioned, redundant data and all those things, and we are collecting so much data in today's world. If you look at, security cameras, a lot of sensors there now. Sometimes what happens is that you may not know the value of data today. So that's why companies are trying to collect as much data as they can, because the value can. But at the same time, you do know if there is no movement in front of my yard or in the business hub, that data has no value. The value is only in the data when there is a movement. So how do you help customer use AI/ML to kind of, help purge the data? Or what are the steps where you move the data into that? This is good data. This is the data is moving fixed to, and then it will be purged. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, the example you use in terms of, if there is a video file and it's just a static image all the time, can I parse that? Can I look into that and say that that's of no value? But then there could be a blimp. That's certainly a possibility down the road. Right now, what we find is a lot of commercial IoT, as you said, sensor information that's coming in. That it tends to be very text orientated in a lot of cases. So I know commercial IoT, the largest data is coming from video cameras, and clearly that comes into a level of security and analyzing that. One thing we're not doing is machine learning on imaging, and we'd partner with a number of players in that space. So you're doing, video analytics. We're not so much doing that, but there are a lot of vendors who do that very, very well. Certainly when it comes down to things like images, we can actually, look at a photo, extract, if it was a picture of some text, extract that, convert it back to text, and be able to kind of find it. Similarly with audio files as well, audio to text conversion, and being able to pass that information as well. So we're continually adding many, many different data sources, as well as data types. So data sources could be, NAS or OneDrive or Dropbox or Box, because again, this data is now so distributed and fragmented, trying to control it, the old saying of trying to herd cats. This is like trying to, herd a million cats times a million and trying to get some kind of control. It's nigh impossible. So providing some insights and automated alerts and reporting gives you the intelligence to make the right action. And then that certainly has a cascading effect on primary infrastructure as well.
Now, so let's just try to understand what kind of use cases you deal with, and also, which will also answer my second question, that is also about what are the challenges that your enterprise customer are facing that you are helping them solve?
Yeah, I think the use case is the most important. It's what we lead with. We're less as a company about the geek speak of the platform, the fact that, we have, 140, classification policies and 800 patents. At the end of the day, so what? It's a matter of, can you solve my problem? And we very much focus on the use cases. Some of them are very vertical specific. The more horizontal ones are things like everyone is faced with today, which is governance, risk, and compliance. And coupled with that, things like data privacy. It's been a tough year for a lot of people. Clearly, some companies are really trying to repair their core business, get people back to work in terms of people who have been furloughed, and then start to look at how they can save money, but as well as trying to become competitive. But things like regulatory compliance, are let's call them, they're pandemic agnostic. Ensuring data privacy, the California Consumer Protection Act, whether it be GDPR through Europe and dealing businesses with that, you have to prove that you are in compliance. If I want my personal information deleted, you need to prove it's all gone. And if you've been, as a corporation, been backing it up for 10 years and you've had that personal information, you need to prove that you removed it from all those backup sets. So that is a big one. We've been running a campaign lately around data privacy. There's a great ebook that people can just download for free that talks about the data privacy regulations as best practices and what you should consider. So we're very much an advisor to collaborate. It's not pushing our product all the time. So automation is key. Things like data governance and compliance can be very manual intensive to find data, search across laptops and so on. And when the lawyers and attorneys are on the clock, that can cost you a lot of money. So if we can speed up the ability to find information, cull that data down, and deliver that information back to the requester, then you're going to save a boatload of money just in there alone. If you start to look, for example, one of our use cases around for IT, data storage optimization and cost reduction. If I can identify valuable data and move it to a different tier, or if I can remove redundant information, and like I said, some cases it's been 50% of their primary data. Your primary applications are going to get faster, your backup operations are going to get faster, and similarly you can start to look to do a level of IT consolidation, not the people, but certainly the equipment. So many vendors are hitting people up for annual renewals around their licenses. If we can help reduce those, great. That's not our core business to reduce backup, but our core business is to certainly do data intelligence and automation, and the trickle down effect in that use case is, in that example, backup consolidation. Other areas, things like M&A. One of our key accounts has acquired, I think it's at least 6 different companies. And clearly every company has different infrastructure, different data types, different policies, and so forth. And so our solution was able to kind of go do a search based on the policies and queries and go out and pull that information back. And then what that enabled them to do was data center consolidation, because they're these 5 companies. They were able to sort of cull that data down and understand the data before they took action. My CEO constantly says and nags and goes on and on about, you got to know what you have before you can do anything. You got to know what you have. And it's true. He's been drumming it into me, which has been kind of fun. But, you got to know your data. You got to know its value. And more importantly, you got to know how much risk you're at. What is the risk there? Case in point, for example, we were monitoring and searching on, local environments where someone's got, posting bad social media, and we were pulling that as a stream. That can then alert, HR, hey, this rogue employee is bad-mouthing the company, some action is potentially needed. So that there are, it sounds like a niche, but it's a matter of providing the data intelligence, as you said, rightly so, extracting the value, and then enabling the use case for people to do it with. So that's kind of one view. I think that the other ones are, things like, I think I touched on privacy. The risk reduction is huge. Controlling and knowing what you have, then you're sort of forewarned and armed, to know what your risks really are. And we sort of augment. So we can sit in the middle with, other application tools, whether it be backup, whether it be e-discovery, whether it be archiving tools, or whether it be classification, or even enterprise content management, or business intelligence tools. Clearly Snowflake is doing real well. With EDW in the cloud, we can certainly augment these to provide the intelligence to, as well as then pass the right information to them to make sense of.
Gary, thank you so much for talking to me today, not only about Apravi, but also the whole ecosystem and how you're helping companies with data intelligence and automation. And I look forward to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Good to talk to you.